All right. Okay. So hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Leah Lauder, and I'm a mega church cult survivor of 18 years. I spent that time in a mega church cult under Dagwood Mills, and I came to the realization during the pandemic that I was in fact in a cult and not in a church, and this absolutely broke my heart and destroyed my soul. A bit of context behind the picture that you can see on the screen. This was my spiritual father, Reverend Edmund, and his wife. She went by the name of Lady Pastor Trudy. And this man became like my actual father, and you can just see in the body language, my smile, everything. I absolutely idolized this man and worshipped him, and I formed a real trauma bond with him. I'm not placing all of the accountability on Reverend Edmund, because when he first started the church cult, he was 19. He's also an orphan. He doesn't have, and he was a young pastor in my generation back in the 2000s, because he was in his 30s. So he's still not an old pastor. He's younger than my mum. So, and I just, this is going to be all over the place, because I actually saw this man as my father, and they really do indoctrinate you to see the mogs and the leaders, like the branch, whatever, as your actual dad. I think this picture behind it really embodies how I felt when I came to the realization that it was just all lies. I thought that this was the first man in my life who didn't come with a premeditated motive, agenda, hidden agenda. I thought that he really saw me for who I was. I thought he saw the God in me, and I idolized him so much that I wanted my husband just to be like him. And that's why there's like that obsession and fascination with wanting to marry a mog, because most of the gal them in there, they want to marry their pastor. Do you get it? Like, most of the gal them in there, if they're really honest, because you can act as much as you want, but God knows the hearts and thoughts of man. So a lot of the women in there, what it is they're just sitting there hoping something would happen to the first lady so they could step in that position. Like, a lot of the women are in love with their pastors, but they're not ready for that conversation. Yeah. Especially when it's weird ages. Like, some of these so-called pastors or leaders or whatever are like 25, 28, and these little girls are like 15, 16. They're coming from, like, having unsecure attachments, their dad never been around, not having an older brother, coming from hyper schmegalized backgrounds, you know what, exploitation. There's a lot. So I wanted to just explore this relationship that I believe is a trauma bond. I want to explicitly say I'm not putting all of the onus or whatever on my ex-spiritual father and pastor, because, as I said, I see him as a victim. What I do want to say, though, is I think this is, stemming from my unsecure, I would even say disorganized attachment with my father. It was just so dysfunctional and very chaotic. And I think that kind of has led to me being quite susceptible to this trauma bond relationship with my pastor. And not only my pastor, I've been doing a bit of reflection. It also made me vulnerable when I came out of the cult. So post-cult exit, with kind of opening up myself to very unhealthy, toxic groups, situations, etc. So depending on how it goes, I may go into that. I didn't see myself going into it, but I just had an epiphany, and I don't know how vulnerable I'll get. But depending on the engagement, and if it's a need for survivors, then I will consider being that vulnerable. All right, so let's get into it. What is a trauma bond? A trauma bond is when love and abuse get tangled together. It's when the same person who gives you pain is also the person who gives you comfort. That back and forth creates a powerful attachment that feels impossible to break. So it's this push and pull effect thing that they do, and it's a textbook typical tactic of a narcissist. You have to remember that the cult leader is the malignant narcissist. Everybody else is putting on the pseudo personality. If we bring in the hierarchy, the pyramid scheme, the competition culture, where everybody feels like they need to be more like the cult leader, they need to do more to please the cult leader, which would be external validation in proving to them that they're a strong Christian, a hard follower, a disciple, whatever it is. And there will be certain requirements, goals, targets that you have to meet in order to be accepted. So that's the social conformity, because if you're with a group and everybody's thinking the same way, there's no autonomy, there's no critical thinking, there's no free thought. That's where the information control comes into it, because they want you to be cut off from the outside world. So that happens through psychological programming, through fear-based programming, in which they demonize the world. You get the us versus them, typical textbook cult tactic. And you'll find, if you've been in a narcissistic relationship, this can be done on a one-on-one level. So the narcissist will break you down and say, you'll never be able to find someone, that you've had 3 kids with me, you're washed up with it. That's usually how they speak. In the church cult, they don't do it like that, but they'll be like, go, you can go. Nobody is telling you to stay here. You should go to another church. When you think about walking out the door, calculate how much you have invested into the environment. Your tithes, your offering. You can't just walk out the door. So there's a lot of manipulation. It's ABUSE is ABUSE. Where I will bring in the spirituality or the religious part of it is to contextualize it. So we understand, well, actually, there is a transcendent belief system. There is a thought reform program attached to this, which is taken from the canon Bible. It's the twisting and manipulation of scriptures in order to assert authoritarian control. So then what that means is that when they indoctrinate you that the Bible is the infallible truth, then that cannot be questioned. Nothing that the cult leader says can be questioned. Hey, Lucia. Hey, Queen. None of the rules, the things that they put in place can be questioned, because the prophet is the mouthpiece of God, and then he's using the infallible word of God. Thank you, Green Tree. So in other words, it cannot be challenged, all right? That's really important to highlight. So with trauma bonds, as you know, there's some sort of power dynamic. It could be age. It could be, I don't know. It could even be things like down to emotional instability. You know, when the woman's a pick me, do you know what I mean? Because then she's like internalized misogyny. So a woman that has low self-worth, or in the opposite side of things, a man that has low self-worth. All right. So another thing that they do with this as well, they can take away positions. It's like that push and pull effect, because how they paint it, thanks for the follows, guys. How they paint it is like the Lord anoints, the Lord blesses, and the Lord taketh and giveth. There's a lot of mystical manipulation which places accountability on people. It's because, oh, you didn't work too hard, or, you know, you're a replacement. You're a replacement. You have to move on to bigger and better things now. You have to let the little ones rise up and be given opportunities. Like, a lot of mystical manipulation, a lot of reverse psychology. So people have literally like left their dreams, like left everything, because they've gone into this all blazing, Then they've just been used for all their gifts, their talents been rinsed out. It could be when you get married, you could have made a little hiccup, a little mistake, whatever. Then a new, fresh, young thing walks in and then they give her your position. It could be praise and worship leader. Then they'll put you as, I don't know, head of department of something that you have absolutely no interest in. And then there'll be GROM in you to be like, oh, this is your test. You have to be able to do different areas of ministry. Just that's how they discard you. They actually give you higher positions, and then you're like shelved, like this trophy on a shelf. And then it's like all about old glory. It's really weird in there. I can't explain how. The way they discard you is very subtle. So when you see these kind of things happening in what is supposed to be a religious institution, you really do need to be picking up your bag and leaving. Please like up the live. So that back and forth creates a powerful attachment that feels impossible to break. Okay, so there's a comment on TikTok because I'm live on TikTok. So if you're watching this later on Instagram or YouTube, please bear this in mind. It is an interactive live session. And if you have any questions or comments, please put it in the chat and I'll answer it later. Cults need to be banned by the government. I agree. They slip through the loophole. Yeah, they slip through the net, most definitely. I think it's because there's a lack of research, evidence-based, gold standard research. And so, you know, part of what I want to do, or what I am doing, is I'm writing a book to add to the gap in literature and research. I have been doing this for about a year. I'm working with survivors, and I've embedded myself into the work and the collective that we have. So I'm hoping that the insight and what I've learned during this year will be documented, and I hope that it will be invaluable insight in, you know, exploring church cults, and also, you know, looking at different methodologies, new theoretical concepts for people to explore, because you know, the first step is making sense of it and helping others to understand it. It's that informal education piece. I really do see this as an epidemic. So as you know, I'm a professional, and looking at it through a public health approach is a bit like schmegschul health, where, you know, certain countries where we might see certain things, you know, certain things that spread or whatever, we have to look at how to prevent that. So we do schmegschul health education, give out free things to prevent, etc. So it's the same with the church cult. Awareness is really important. Cult psycho ed is really important, and also it being packaged in a way that the people in these communities that are getting targeted can access the information, and they can understand exactly what's going on, because they think people from the hood are DUMB, but they're not. They just catch them in a time when it's vulnerable. They catch most people in a time that's vulnerable. So what I find is, I think that the shared collective trauma, I think this transcends class, race, whatever, gender. It's the religious element of it, you know, the omnipresence of God, the transcendent belief systems. But then there's also another layer to this. I don't want to lose this. The transcendent belief systems. Oh, I've lost it. We'll get it. I'll come back to it. But yeah, this is a very deep subject, guys. I am gonna kind of zone out and disassociate, because there's a lot of trauma attached to this. But when I watch it over and I remember it, I'll put it in the chat on YouTube. So follow me, subscribe on Leah Lauder 777. And if you're watching on YouTube later, please do subscribe. So it's that back and forth with the push and pull effect that creates a powerful attachment that feels impossible to break. So again, it becomes like an addiction. Do you know what I mean? You're like going back for that validation. All right, so let's look at this in a neuroscience term, because I think it's important to understand what happens with the psyche, how the brain is rewired, and the process that we go through, and then how that can affect us, our autoimmune system. Because what you find is that when a lot of survivors leave these mega church cults, post-cult exit, there's quite a high percentage of survivors in the ones that I've been working with within the collective is quite high when they come out, and then they do get diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. I know that sentence is going to sound very shuffly later when I listen to it, but it's alive, and it's 10:20 in the evening. And I'm not here to speak over your life, or I'm here to give you facts, chair. That's why you come on. Woo, chair! I'm going to have to edit that out, boy. Looking like a hot mess. I might leave it in there. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? It's just that I don't have the energy. Do you know what I mean, guys? All right. So let's look at this in a neuroscience term. So trauma bonds activate the same reward pathways in the brain as addiction. When you get love bombed, the intense affection, attention, validation makes your brain release dopamine and oxytocin. Isn't that what antidepressants does as well? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The feel-good chemicals, yeah. The feel-good chemicals. But when ABUSE, withdrawal or punishment comes, you go into stress mode. So this is, you know, all the pressure. This is all of the tasks that they give you, all of the goals. There's just a lot of gaslighting as well, because you have to remember a lot of these mogs are just thieves. So everything is about making money, but they can't make it obvious. That's why they really target young people, because they've got a lot of energy and it's just about fun, and they do all these things. They like package it in a way that it sells to the youth. High cortisol environment. Woo! That's a good one. There's a survivor on TikTok that says high cortisol. And you know what I want to say as well? I'm gonna read out this bit and then I'm gonna link it to what you've said. Thanks for pinning it, Queen Lucia. All right. So with the withdrawal or the punishment comes, you know, that you go into that stress mode, walking on eggshells, and then this releases cortisol. The push-pull cycle wires your nervous system to crave the highs after the lows, making you feel hooked. I've actually got Addison's. It started off as it's hyperadrenalism, Addison's, and then I had hypertension. The only reason, and hypertension is high blood pressure, I had that at like 25, 26. And the only reason we found out about that was because of my first pregnancy. Now, the Addison's is because they had to remove one of my adrenals, because my adrenal unalived, because it was having to overwork, producing too much cortisol, because I was in fight or flight. I was getting stressed out. So this is what I want to go onto a podcast to talk about. And it's really crazy that I came to a realization today. I think I was just fantasizing my ex and just, you know, just choosing to look at all of the positive and good things and not really looking at it from a non-biased lens. Me too, girl. A survivor says, ever since I left, I look younger. And it just dropped today that I've just got to let it go. You know, it's been years, and I'm not going to say too much, but, you know, he has to go through that cycle and that life lesson. And then I have to move on, and I have to rise and do what I'm doing. And that's no shade. That's just the truth. So I've had to kind of accept it and let it go. So I started to think about, okay, I really need to unpack this, because now I really want to let go. So let me really deconstruct now and deprogram, and really understand and make sense of why I was in that relationship in the first place, and give myself some home truths. And that has brought me back to this whole trauma bond ideology. I need to be careful, you know. They were draining the life out of me. I have to give it a censored one. Yeah, just choose peace. Yeah, choose peace. And that's choosing yourself, Jer. All right. So how does this connect to cult life? How does this connect to cult life? And I just want to say, I just want to quickly go back to your comment, Queen, because that could go over our head. They were draining the out of me. In these settings, it is so draining. Like, and I feel like afterwards, like, because I was in there for like 18 years, I've had to pay for it. Like, I haven't come out of this environment unscathed. Do you know what I mean? Like, my body, I feel like I'm like this young, vibrant, youthful girl trapped in this body, that, you know, I can't really do the things that I want to do. And it's just a part of it. That's why I really do. I'm so glad, and I've got to be content and see the positive. I'm so glad that, you know, the internet, that's why I'm not against it, because for someone like me with all my like disabilities, this gives me a chance to connect with other people and communities. And I think if it's used in the right way, it's great. That's another thing that they do, is a lot of information control. You'll notice this, especially with narcissists that are forming trauma bonds with you. They'll like to keep you in like a hub. They almost put you in a self-sealing system. They love triangulation as well. Please bear that in mind. Triangulation, so usually a narcissist will be seeing another woman or another man, and they'll want to put you into that almost like that love triangle, because they get a supply of that, from you, fighting over them or whatever it is. So the best thing to do with a narcissist is just lock them off and block them. Just don't give them the satisfaction. For example, my ex tried to hit me up. He's just so unhinged. I'm not even going to say what he was doing up. Like, yeah, us against them. Yeah, definitely. And I'm just like, why are you even hitting me up? Like, I'm not on that. Like, leave me alone. He's trying to talk some human fecal matter, babe. I don't want to chat to you. Then my man's called me. Guys, do you know what? As soon as I've heard the voice, I've just hung up the phone. I've just hung up the phone. Because whoever you were with and whoever you were trying to show off in front of and entertain, as soon as I hear your voice, it's getting luck off. So whatever picture you were trying to paint, you're just looking like some idiot. You lot, I don't play. I'm telling you, I don't play them games, Jer. I don't know what you're talking about. That one with the thumbs up. You need to make it clear, because we really don't play with that on here. So you need to just quickly put what you mean. All right. So how does this connect to cult life? In the cult, we experience this exact cycle. The leader or community would shower us with love, belonging, and promises of salvation. So the love bombing is that, oh my gosh, if you come to my church, your life will change. And I've got this so powerful prophet. He's been there for me. And they're talking. It's like it's almost like word vomit. Do you know what I mean? There's no real time to think. They just kind of come in and swoop in, and it's just really scripted. It's very scripted. So what you'll find is, listen to them carefully, because all of these CCs, these cult promoters on the streets, they'll all have the same approach. Oh my gosh, you're so pretty. Can I speak to you about you? It's all the same. There's nothing new. There's nothing authentic, because it's just a bunch of psychology. And when you challenge them, that's when you see the real them coming out. So it will be like, because remember, there's no love like what HATE. So it might be like, well, I hope you know that if you don't receive, you'll go HELL as you're walking off. And it's just like, oh, there it is. There it is. And also, never turn your back on one of these people that attend these. Never turn your back on them. You see, when you're walking and they're trying to give you something, I always turn my back and I look. And I just say, return to sender. You shall reap what you sow. That's what I do, because they don't understand the laws of the universe. They don't understand intention. They don't get it. They don't get it, yeah. Because my intention is pure. I know what I'm doing up, but why are you doing that up? But I know only God knows the hearts and minds of man. So you know what? God, test my heart. Test me, Lord. But also test them. And deal with me and deal with her. If you find any wicked way within us, purge us, clean us, wash us with hyssop. Don't play with me, babe. Listen, and both of us, oh Lord, don't play with me, because I've been getting purged. Do you know what I'm saying? It's y'all that can't really handle the purging. Do you know what I mean? Just run into your mog. You can't even... Anyway, let me not even do it up. All right. I reject that about I'm going down there. Oh, but I know that she's 30, but I don't know what you mean, babe. Do you know anything about the Winners' Chapel? Yeah, is that a Yedipo? Oh, do you know what, babe? I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just getting over something that involves these very like those particular CCs, the redeemed, the winners. What's the one that Pastor Chris does up? All of that. So I will come to that one, but I'm gonna say that has the worst type of preds that you could ever imagine, like known to man. They're all in there, and I am gonna talk on it. I am going to talk on it. I am. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a safe environment at all. All right. So remember I spoke about the love bombing born again experience. So it's like, that's why you see them when they first get so-called saved. It's like the born again things becomes an identity. And then they're like running around in these streets like they're on, something. Like eyes all glazed. Like it's an escapism. That's all it is. So what you'll notice with everybody that does this up, yeah, there's some sort of trauma. So that's the trauma bond. The trauma bond is to the institution, the religious organization. It creates a codependent coping mechanism and strategy system, where they run from self. It's an escapism because in this environment, they don't need to be Jenny from the block. I wasn't that girl who, do you know what I mean, boyfriend unalived and, whatever. Now I was like, oh my gosh, it was just crazy, man. I just went from being like, to just like being on the street, just randomly trying to get everyone to come. It was so mad. And they row you up in there, boy. But RADICAL is mad. Oh, guys, I'm just going to light a little candle as I'm speaking to you because I want candlelit vibes. Because do you know what, guys? This is really heavy stuff that I'm talking about. But some of the lives I will start doing like this because I just can't always be, my face always be on. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Someone very close to me is in that cult. And I'm scared that they're being indoctrinated. Oh, yeah. Are you talking about first love? Oh, my gosh. Do you know what? I'm not going to lie. If they're attending first love, then, they are getting indoctrinated, my love. I wish that, I could say it like differently. But I just can't mince my words. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the main reason why they're targeting these young people. They know that they're vulnerable. But one thing that I will tell you is that now it's never been a better time and a chance for people to like be able to get out. Because you know what was happening before? Because I can't sell you a dream, but I can kind of give you what I think is facts. Because you see what I noticed when I was, upon reflection, was that I was actually trying to escape the cult in 2009, right? But what they do is they've got an answer for everything to keep you trapped and controlled in their chair. So it's like you don't have no common sense. As soon as you have a thought, you start to think the way they've programmed you to think. Do you get it? So at that time, I was so trapped. It's like my body, everything was like telling me, you don't want to be here. Because I was getting treated like, oh, it was just bad, man. Because after a couple of years, they start discarding you. Do you know what I mean? Because then new people come in. They want to give them positions. They want to check. Like, do you know what I mean? They do stuff like that. And they play silly games to like test your loyalty. Like, like give you a part and then take it away from you. They just do really like... I think it's all a part of control. I think it's all a part of control because that's what it's about. That's all it comes down to, innit? The nuts and crux of it, really. Control, power, and ego. All right, let me go to some of the comments. So my point is, if there had been someone or some content like, oh gosh, I need to stop doing that, like myself, I would have been able to say, okay, oh my gosh, this is what's happening to me. This is how I feel. This, that, and the third. But because it's like silence is compliance, no one's speaking out. Can you guys hear me? Nobody understands or can process what's happened to them. So now there's like more of there's more voices that are rising up. Do you know what I mean? To speak as well. Thank you, my love. All right. So, yeah, so that love bombing, the love bombing born again experience what you'll notice is, and a lot of them, they tell on themselves because it's a projection, and they're trying to do this social media thing, but it doesn't really work, because everything that social media stands for is whatever. It contradicts what they believe in when you really strip it back. And I will be getting into that. And I'm really talking about this high control, false doctrine that they teach, whereby it involves information control. So again, I'll be using my cult leaders' false doctrine to as an evidence base for what I'm talking about. But they do want to control the way, so the information can be there, but they control how you interpret and how you perceive it. So even though I'm speaking truths, and this is what the problem is, because it's like they're in cognitive dissonance, but when they're hearing certain things, it's like what they'll be thinking is, oh, there's some truth to what she's saying. But then because the cult leader has an answer for everything, what will come and wash that out is that an accusation has some truth to it, but it's basically like a lie. So they see that as disloyalty. They see it as being used by the enemy. That's how they see it. So, but because I was in there for so long, I literally know like what they're thinking and the doctrine that they're using to kind of like wash out your own mind. Does that make sense? So there's an answer for everything. Remember, in life, there's not supposed to be an answer for everything. That's why we're supposed to have God, We're supposed to walk by faith and not by sight. Remember that. But in these environments, it's like they really have mapped out your life. In cult psycho words, we call it life mapping. Do you know what I mean? No one's doing anything great anymore. Like, we were supposed to be doing greater works than Christ. What greater works are they doing, Chair? Do you know what I mean? Like, are you all right? Everyone's doing the same thing. It's just copy and paste. It's turned into a money-making machine. And there's been an infiltration, and then when the pastors get upset, they get into beef, they go off and start their own thing. And then it's like this competition, they got these vendettas. They want to prove to their, old mog friend that they can do it. They can have more branches. Guys, you see the intent of man, only God knows. That's why there's certain truths and lessons within the Bible, like one thing that I really do believe is a truth is that, and if you're atheist, can you just take what resonates and leave what doesn't, Chair? Because I'm hanging on for my mental health by my day life, Chair. So just ease your girl up. But it's man judges the outward, but God sees the heart. God judges the heart. I might get that tatted on me one day. Anyway, I think that's so profound. And I think the reason why they look so silly is because, God isn't tangible in that way, this, that, and the third. So it's like they're trying to replicate God in like trying to package, sell these invisible blessings. But now that technology's advanced, people are leveling up technology, information, because it's like people had to go to like uni and go here and there to like, get access to certain technology libraries, etc. But now we just have it at our fingertips, so it's changed a lot, guys. We need to realize that the world we're living in has changed. Yeah, I know, I was yamming them sweets. Sorry, YouTube, you are going to get me crunching my Starburst, unfortunately. But it could be like ASMR for some people, like the shuffling of the bag and the sweets. Are you all right? I'm eating Starburst. What flavor should I eat? Yeah. I'm so delusional, I just think I can do anything. That's why when I have these chats with my mum, I'm like, Mum, they've really met their match. Yeah, Because my mum, like, my mum was like that one. Like, even if I think I'm better than Rihanna, Beyonce. Do you know what I mean? I'm just so delulu. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I am. Just living in my own little world. But I love that. I love that about me. And that's been part of my self-exploration and getting to know myself again. But let's get on to these points, all right? Because I think this is really important, this trauma bond one. And then I'm going to go into a little bit of, like, some of my most, I don't know, like, ew. I was in a trauma bond relationship with my pastor and his wife. And it's really weird because there was even a triangulation dynamic within their family. It was weird. Within their marriage, sorry. It's very, very dysfunctional. Like the high leadership, like if you get close to them and you see how they really are, that's why they don't really let people come around them, like with their spouse, things like that, because they only want the closest people to really see what goes on. And that's why there's a lot more that I could be saying, but because, I was in a trusted position, there's just certain things that I wouldn't cross the line with, but if I was pushed, I would definitely cross those lines 100%. Like if I needed to take it there, I'm definitely prepared. If I get pushed, I will take it there. All right. So after they've offered us all of these false promises, they've done up the love bombing, born again experience. They've managed to get us hooked, start to form those codependent trauma bond relationships through the promise of salvation. Yeah. So now, and I'm gonna go soon, guys, because I'm getting tired. And then we'll do a part 2. So now, it's like the almighty prophet, becomes this mouthpiece of God, can lead you to heaven. This is the way, to salvation. And then now you've got it. You need to go out and, give that gift to others and whatever. Then they use fear, shame, or punishment to control. And I want to say, like, accountability. There's a lot of, like, accountability on self. They push the blame. It's like a lot of self-blame. But we all know the fair tactics, like everything. Once they've hooked you with those promises of salvation, and then you've taken on that identity in being born again. But it's not only being born again, it's being born again in that particular cult. So it's like you are... I can only describe it in my cult. It was like you're a son or daughter of the house. So now you're like royalty. It's like a new spiritual lineage. It's like God has now changed your DNA. So because the prophet is so favored and protected and built all of these religious organizations, aka what's all around the world, we can see in his fruits that he's anointed. That's the proof, because they manipulate you and they do up like spiritual currency exchanges. So they change the meaning of things. So now, the fruits of the spirits isn't, is it Galatians 5? Is it 5:22? Now it's in buildings, kingdoms, how many conferences you put on, how many books you've written. It's because they're into legalism. They're into faith plus works equals salvation. They're into works. They're into showing things. These are very artificial people. That's why you can see that these, what influencers, that's all they're about, man, is the fame and whatever. And God will give it to you, because what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but to lose his soul? Yeah. They think because they're doing like, what content. Oh yeah, that makes it all right. It's the intention. You can post a picture fully clothed from your neck to your foot bottom, yeah, but your intention is to post that picture to show people this and that. Your heart's not clean. I could post a picture in myself in a beach with barely anything on, but my intention is like I'm in the water, I'm connecting with, God, I'm in the elements, you know what I mean? So I'm not doing that to throw any shade at anyone. It's not out of malice. It's not out of... So even though you will look at me and judge me on the offset because you're looking at what I'm wearing, and you will see that other woman as looking more demure, or maybe they're a church goer or whatever. So God's ways are not our ways. Thanks for the follow. God's ways are not our ways. It's higher. Do you get what I'm talking? Like, it's like the mysteries of the universe and how this whole matrix works. You've really got to uncode that from within. That's what I believe. I think that looks different for everybody. And I think this whole copy and paste thing is just a way to control, to assert rule. There's some real greedy people with really big egos, you know, and that's how you can tell. That's what Christ was saying. You'll know them by their fruits. By your fruits, you shall know them. Chair. If Christ's teachers have ever become clearer, I think it's in this age. I can't even lie. It's like my eyes have been opened, and it's like I just get the parables now. It's so crazy. And that's what I'm saying. When you get into that frequency, that God frequency, it's like ask and you shall receive, because what they're trying to figure out and memorize and go to all these seminars or get these great revelations, you just ask and it's just freely given. You don't have to work for it. God can just tell you like that, and it just changes absolutely everything. So I think for me, knowing that I've got that relationship, it's not so much based off works and I need to pray, you know, however many times a day for, you know, 6 hours. You know, my pastor used to say, Daggy Bulls used to say that, like, just your normal committed, like, you know what would be doing up tongues, like prayer for, like, I think he used to say minimum 2 hours if you're a normal attendee. Then I think it was like 4 hours for a shepherd or something, 6 hours for a pastor. But obviously everybody wants to aim for the 6 hours, because you see when they put those kind of things in, it's very subtle, but that's like competition. So then he'll come and he'll be doing this little indoctrination like, oh, there are monks here. They don't even pray for 10 minutes. But there are youthful men and women here. You are only 14. You are just 16. You are young. But you are praying for 6 hours. You are praying for 12 hours. God sees your heart. Just like David. David was young. They disqualified him. But God, he was a man after God's own heart. God sees the heart. Listen, when I tell you I can preach, I've heard every single type of message you could ever imagine in your life. There's no window, there's no scripture, there's no prosperity preaching gospel that I cannot teach. Absolutely not. Do you get me? Like, nah, man. And at the end of the day, I boast in God. There's no way I'm doing this alone. Like, I'm not. Listen, babes, me not care. There's certain things that I've seen in that little canon Bible that I learned before, truths that were true before me enter church cult. Yeah, because I was doing up Catholic church before that. Don't ever get it twisted, baby. And then when my backside now leave the cult and I'm outside in the world, there's truths in that book I cannot deny. That's on period, point blank. Because I learned that the hard way, and I had to learn that in the gutter. And I learned it. Certain things that I'm not willing to share. But that's why I will never deny it. So for me, there's certain things that I don't play with, because I've seen that, and then I've seen that same truth and that same principle and that same law working across so many different faiths, beliefs, disciplines, you know, like psychology. Then you can find it in science, this, that, and the fact. So there's so many different areas that we can use to support that. So for me, I don't play with the like boasting in myself. And I've seen that in the mogs. That's how you get humbled. You get me? So people could call me proud. Like, me not care. It's about what God thinks about me, Jer. I don't worship no man. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, baby, I don't worship no man, Jer. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't worship. I don't care about the validation of people, baby. Are you all right? I chat my chat the same way, whether I've got one person on here, 2 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, whatever people, babes. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Child, it's so deep, man. After 18 years of my life, there's no way I could come out and do this in a diplomatic way. Oh, Alex, you're such a king. Thank you. Alex has gifted me. Thank you, Alex. You're so sweet, Alex. I really do appreciate you. It doesn't go unnoticed, your support. So let's not let the fear, shame, or punishment to control go over our head, okay? This was done in so many ways. Punishment can also come in the guise of taking positions from you, demoting you, saying your business from the pulpit. It can also come in the form of ABUSE, when they tell like the first lady, but you haven't divulged that information, because some people have a good relationship with like the branch mog, but not the spouse. And so there's a lot of like breach of confidentiality, anonymity, like, you know, things that you tell people in confidence. And I think that that's something that we shouldn't let go over our heads, because then, you know, people can start to have, you know, resentment and certain feelings towards you. And that can come out in a lot of different ways. It can be really damaging. That's why I say we need to protect ourselves, guys, to avoid trauma bond relationships. Always be here to do what I can. Oh, Alex, he said my work's gonna go far. Oh, Alex, you're such a king. I'm gonna start doing my music again. So when I start doing my performances and stuff, I'm gonna make sure I invite you, Alex. So I want to start doing my music. Oh, I absolutely adore Alex. Honestly, he's such a king. Okay. I appreciate you. So then after they've done all of that in a bid to control us, afterwards, they then offer forgiveness or blessings again. So do you remember I said to you during the pandemic when they made me a Gosenta leader, which was like an online pastor, because they were now scurrying and begging for people to do Upper Centre because the pandemic had come. They were unprepared. They were very top heavy, just had the same people doing the same thing over and over again. They had an airtight system where they had these physical branches. We didn't really do much online. So now they had to find like trusted people to manage the like to make their smaller fractions of that community so that they could manage it and they wouldn't just like go off. Do you understand what I'm saying? That there was a woman that was supposed to be in my place, but she got pancreatic, you know what, terminal, basically didn't make it. So I literally got that position by default. It was crazy because they always had like a feeling. I think they always had I don't know. It was weird. It was like I was in, but I was always like on the fence. And I don't know. I feel like maybe Bishop Richard said somewhere that he'll never make me a pastor. That's what I believe. And so there's a lot of people that Bishop Richard said he would never make pastors, but now he has to be making them pastors because he doesn't have a choice. But back then they were very funny, very selective. It was very elitist. I want to try and not eat my sweets, guys, but I need to stay up. It was very elitist. So I do believe that I think this guy that you see in the picture, I think to compensate, because I used to help so much. I used to do so much and, you know, because my heart was just so pure. Thanks for the follow. My heart was just so pure, guys. Honestly, my heart was just for the ministry. And I gave, and my spiritual father could really see that. So I think he still was trying to like bring me up and raise me in like a spiritual daughter way. I don't know. But I'm also smart. So what people who were even brought so close, but they don't digest the books, they don't soak them, they don't get embedded in the word. Also, in Dag's ministry, to fully understand it and embed yourself in it, you have to be like quite, I'm not, and what I mean by academic, because his books are not academic, but he thinks he's an academic. So if you give it like, put an academic approach, like I had folders. I used to do microscopic Bible studies. I used to do like cross-reference his books. I used to have all different types of Bibles, like all different types of translations. There was no internet, so I used to have a library. I used to have various dictionaries. I really used to go into like, you know, I would go and look up what the actual meaning of love is, where it came from, the Hebrew word, the Greek word, the Latin word, you know, look at all of the different versions. Like I had to really fight to prove myself that I was really there for God. Thanks, Alex. I know you'll come. Such a king. So I felt like I had to do so much more to prove myself. I was just in there unalive with myself, yeah. But again, the unsecure attachment wanting a daddy. I felt like for the first time in my life, I've got a dad. Like, he really cares about me. Oh my gosh, that was spiritual psychosis. How can I enter this environment? And within 6 months, I'm looking at this geezer like my savior. Like, guys, it was like a guru. Oh gosh, I don't know how I never saw this. This was weird. But do you know what? To my defense, my boyfriend had just been unalived in police custody chair. And I was so vulnerable and so broken. I wasn't even just vulnerable and broken. I'd lost my mind. That's what happened. Yeah. Woo! I used to come all blacked out, wearing, you know, like the straw hat, you know, like the summer hat, but it was a black one. Yeah. I'll never forget that. I just used to wear that hat and come all in black. I felt like a widow. Mad. It was a mad time in my life, chair. I always think if I got over that, you know, like I'll get over anything. But I was so disassociated. Like, have I really got over it? And again, this is coming back to the trauma bond. Love transcends all things. It's the only thing that's real. It's where all things stem from. Oh, isn't that lovely? Oh, that's such... Oh, I can't even see what I'm doing. You lot are going to see me. Wait, hold on. Let me do this puzzle. Oh, that's so lovely, Alex. I can't get the puzzle in. Thanks for sharing that. You're so right, you know. It's deep, isn't it? All right. So after they offer the forgiveness or... Oh, yeah, that's the point I was getting to. So Sister Philippa in Apache, she told me that because we're like rebuking the people and we're telling them like, you know, like we're rebuking them harshly, like they're going to go to HELL, this and that. Then we need to come up, bring them up. And we need to say, but there is hope in the Lord. So it's like you bring the fire, like the condemnation, and then you say, but there is hope in our Lord Jesus Christ. And then we go into the offerings. Yeah, so again, it's just that they take you on that roller coaster of emotions, okay? So there's always that forgiveness and blessings, and they also do that to justify the psychosis and the ABUSE. You know, the street cult promoters. Oh my gosh, those ones are just... Gosh, I think they just need to be put on something, man. Like, you know, like and do some therapy, chair. All right. That cycle wires the brain to associate love with fear. All right. Are you lot clocking it? Safety with punishment. It's a trauma bond on a spiritual level. So do you see that this is all the opposite? And this is why I said they do the spiritual exchange. Because remember I said to you that love equals HATE equals love. That's why that's saying there's no love like HATE. Because our brains are rewired. So we're getting into that cycle and that rhythm of how the cult leader thinks, because they're indoctrinating us through that transcendent belief system. But we're also undergoing very severe indoctrination through the amount of time that we're spending there, not even particularly for the teachings or whatever, but to get close or to be close to the cult leader, whoever it is that we form that trauma bond relationship with. Unbeknown to ourselves, we're getting indoctrinated. Because even if you're not concentrating completely, but you're there, you could be there waiting for your friend, you know, that maybe is a leader, or I don't know, the pastor, the wife, whatever. And you're getting exposed to all of this, the culture, the waiting around ministry. It's like they're starting to see you as one of them. Because cults are weird, man. They look at actions and like it's all about actions. You know, like they'll be like, the way that a man honors you is through his actions. Oh my God. Like, Lord Jesus Christ. I'm so glad that I got delivered from that rhetoric. You know, going into my 40s. Oh my God. I need to just get myself a nice man, child, that is just want to loving on me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need a lot of love, a lot of TLC, a lot of tender loving care. Are you all right? I'm not doing up that, man. You know what I mean? All of that bondage and binding and... I'm not on that, man. That's not a bit of me, chair. That's for the young gal, them. I don't mean no disrespect, gal. All right. I don't mean no disrespect, gal, them, but like, I made that mistake when I was in my 20s. No disrespect. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, my love. You know, I could be sitting here chatting off my mouth, and then 2 years you could see me walking down the aisle. But you lot remember, if I am walking down the aisle, it's a good, it's an investment for myself. I've done it because it benefits myself. But the thing is, I really don't think that I'm gonna need marriage to benefit myself. Like, I really am just trying to do my own thing. So I don't really see marriage for me in the future. That's why Oprah don't get married. Are you all right? Why does she need to marry? You know, like, I just want to be that girl. Like, I don't want to marry. Do you know what I'm saying? God, you're my provider, my protector. Show them, Lord. Listen, the prayers that I pray, yeah, that's why I just sit there and I just think, whatever, babe. Whatever. Do what you want to do up. I'll do what I want to do up, innit? As long as I know it's my God that I answer to. Minakir. And my mum, I'm not gonna lie. I do go to my mum as well for like wisdom and whatever. But you can even tap into that yourself. You can tap into your mother's love within yourself, because you can embody that and have that. Do you know what I mean? Because again, you've got to take what resonates, but you've also got, because it's difficult. There's a lot of difficult situations, and we have a lot of different phenomenons and complexities around, you know, but as a collective, there's a lot of similarities as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you can have someone come from a single parent household and have a disorganized attachment with their dad that's never been there. But then you can have a child where they grew up in a household where the dad was just a prolific cheater and never there, never felt heard, no emotional. So it's like, again, they will still go for these unemotional, is it unemotionally, available men. Do you see what I mean? So everybody deals with trauma differently. But it doesn't, is what I'm saying making sense? I think as a collective, we still, we have that connection through the shadow trauma. Yeah. Okay. So when we leave the cult, our brains are still wired to recognize that pattern as love. So this is me now getting on to what makes us more susceptible or can make us go into relationships. So, you know, you were dealing with a malignant narcissist. So, you know, the likelihood of you getting with a psychopath, and I'm not trying to, you know, thing fair, because I had to go through this. I had to walk through the fire. Some people do, but I'm just sharing my truth on what I experienced. And then this is all from ChatGPT. That it's like my AI. Makes perfect sense. We tend to go for those characters because it's familiar to what we know. Yeah. And the chaos as well, especially if you were from a chaotic upbringing, or it's like even stability and peace. That's why when I was feeling to divorce my ex-husband, I had to question myself about so much, because they use a lot of that psychology in these cults as well. Oh, you've never been in a relationship for this. You need to be stable. You may not have everything, but you have a husband that has put a ring on your finger, giving you the last name, and that's it, babe. What else? Next. They lower your standard to like absolutely standard things, so you become below average. Yeah. All right. So this means, because our brain has been rewired to see, our brains are still recognized to see that ABUSE and that pattern as love, which means when we meet narcissistic or abusive partners, our bodies confuse the manipulation for familiarity. We're more vulnerable because it feels like home, even though it's not healthy. I want to also say that there can be the temptation to do the forbidden fruit, like, you know, the things that you weren't allowed to do, like in the cults. You can go to the other end of the extreme, and I've kind of experienced that as well. And because you've got such low self-esteem, your confidence is so low, you can find yourself getting into situations that make you very, very vulnerable. I want to also say, I feel like some of these people from these religious institutions have been listening to my content and then shaping things indirectly. So let he has an air hair, man, be careful. I would just stay away from all of these content creators on there, because I just don't think any of them can be trusted. But I do put something over this, an intention that anybody that does it, it will backfire and they'll receive a string of unfortunate events and exposure to humble them. Because I don't like that. I don't like that. I've been noticing things. But anyway, let me not say too much. You know, I always ask God for signs. Like, if I see something or I think something or I've got a hunch, I'll then ask God for the sign, like, you know, and something will happen. And then I'll be like, oh, I was bang on the money. Do you know what I mean? Time to expose, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then I start to... So it doesn't just happen one day where it could be someone could come to me tomorrow and be like, do you know what? I want to expose this mog. I met them on so-and-so dating site in 2023, but they got married. Maybe they still had this person. They got married to, you know, stuff like that. And then it all starts to make sense. Like, oh my gosh, okay, I've had my eye on these people and been psychoanalyzing them. Not necessarily doing a video. I don't have to. I've got my eyes are always like, you see, like when you look at like certain like street enterprise and stuff like that, your eyes have to always be on the streets. You need to know what's going on. You need to know what's going on. You get me? So that's the same way my mind is. I don't need to be chatting off my mouth. This, that, and the third. But I'm aware of what's going on in these, you know what, that side of these TikTok streets. I've seen it. But me, I just go to my God chair. You get me? Because it's God. God will go and test and look upon them intentions and heart and weigh that up. That's not for me to do. You get me? So when I see someone do something, I just say, oh Lord, please deal with this one. Because I haven't got the time. I'm doing so much of this. So I was like saying to God, I really need you to step in and humble this one. Because I don't like it. I don't like to see it on my FYP. And every time I ask God, God always does something. So I'm telling you now, if God does something in that area, oh God, they're going to feel me, jail. They're going to feel it, jail. And that's why I come in with the extra vim, because it's like God's already shown me about that from like 3 months ago. You get me? But now's the time and I'm ready. Like, let's ready to go. I got things back that I've screen recorded and I've had. You don't think I'm watching upon you from 6 months ago, babe. Ready to do what I need to do, jail. Especially the ones that are so proud, and also the actors, like, you know, because they're not actually putting in any of the work, but now they're trying to sound more healing. They're listening to the things that people are saying and they're trying to talk about it and repackage it. That's the same thing that they do. Like, they metamorphosize. It's very dangerous. It's like the way, there is no Jezebel spirit. It doesn't exist, but it does in their reality, you see, because they've created it. Like they've like shaped that reality within their, because remember, they're in the self-sealing system. So that Jezebelic spirit, it does come out, and that's what they do. They seduce the people. It's not through lust and whatever. It's through a different type of lust. Do you know what I say? Because the way that they've even painted lust, like sensuality, and that they've demonized the woman. So it's like, you know, expressing ourselves and whatever. It's like a sin, forbidden. But the real lust, it's not gender specific. It's like, does God even see gender? You know, them ones. But they say, oh man, God made man and woman. I'm not even going to get into it anyway. But you know what I'm saying? I think God more sees the heart of man. Anyway, that's gone on a tangent. Oh, guys, it's deep tonight, isn't it? What's going on, Jer? Yo. There's something in the air tonight, oh Lord. Ooh, darling. I don't even remember how that song goes, Jer, but what is that, Paul Collins? I can feel it calling in the air tonight. Oh, darling. It's something like that, isn't it? All right. Whew, this has been a lot, Chair. A lot of release. All right. So again, I want to highlight on this. We're more vulnerable because it feels like home, even though it's not healthy. Let's add the cultural layer to this. Absolutely, Lucia. If you come from a certain family where there's certain traditions that echo or mirror the culture in these cults, And then on top of that, if you have that toxicity, you come from that, you know, very toxic type of household, you will feel safe. You will feel like that's home, because it's like you've been raised not to talk back to elders. You've been taught that you have to bow down to your husband or the father-in-law or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So you see all of these things as respect. You're not seeing it as ABUSE. You're not seeing it as misogyny. You're not seeing it as patriarchy. So there's a lot of deconstruction that has to be done up. Do you know what I mean? With the whole entire organization, the roots of the religious organization. You need to do a lot. You need to put in the work, man. Do you get what I'm saying? And now you've even got AI and ChatGPT. You could just talk to the thing. There really isn't any excuses anymore, Jer. All right. And so it will feel like home, even though it's not healthy. So why survivors are susceptible to toxic relationships post-cult exit. So this is when you leave and you're trying to work it out. That's why I would say, like, I want to say for the women, because listen, I can't sit here if you've been in an unalived celibate marriage for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you want to go and get your back blown out, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, you need to be celibate, right? Get it out of your system. That's what I would say. Get it out of your system. But my advice would be just don't deal with dusties in it. That's all I'm saying. Like, just level up at least. Get a new wardrobe, reinvent yourself, love yourself a bit, like get to your most confident, so that you're not just going to be getting used and abused outside in these streets. Because remember, you've been out of the game for a long time as well. And they demonize some of the roots and tradition that we originally have, like tango and salsa. Yeah, African spirituality. That's part of the YT coding, isn't it? Because we've looked at that, haven't we? That, and thanks for bringing that up, Lisa, because then we can actually draw the comparisons between that race discourse, which is very important, because there's also different cultures around the world. Do you know what I mean? And then they demonize those as well. And it's anything that's outside of the self-sealing system, what the cult leader teaches and sees as right. So they're just making it up as they go along, because we all know that sin is sin, but they literally make it up as they go along. And what we're seeing now is like these ones that are trying to come up and really like it's just giving confusion. Because babe, I don't want to see you sit here and say, oh, I'm not like the rest of them, you know, because I don't think, or propaganda, I'm not going to fall. But you're still there, Jer. So what happens if a girl comes out next week and says that this leader or elder's been eating from the Great Bowl, or they're doing up PDF photocopying? What are you going to do? What are you telling me now? You're going to leave then and what? Go and find a new set? And it just don't make sense, Jer. I think it's better off when you've had this kind of experience in a religious organization and you've experienced cult abuse. It's like a divorce. But some people do need to go for a bit of church cult hopping. Some people do, just because because some people have actual like trauma bonds. It goes so deep. It's not actually with a morgue or whatever. It's with the actual religion, the social construct. They can't let that go, because that's their only form of identity, especially like people who don't have parents. So it's like that there's that whole lack of identity. So it's like if they lose that, they will completely fall apart. So and you know, I can't even begin to imagine what that would feel like. So again, I'm not here to judge, but these are just perceptions that I've made because I've seen patterns. All right, so why are they more susceptible? So why are we more susceptible to toxic relationships when we leave? The loss of identity. After leaving, we feel stripped of self. That makes us hungry for someone to tell us who we are again. So the validation in men. Also, men can just turn into like 304s, because like what I think happens from the man then perspective is that they're in there, trusted in God, abstaining, being celibate. Then when they find out their leader's done A, B, C, and D, that they've kind of looked at as this father figure, mentor or brother or whatever, they start to feel let down. Then they start to act up. Then they just go out and they just start doing the most. Yeah. So there's a lot of trauma. But I think with the guys, it just goes so deep when they get to that point. Do you know what I mean? They just don't feel anything. So again, it's like that hunger for validation. And also, it's like, I feel like because you're in there 24/7, it's like you can't stay in your yard. You can't be with self because you don't know who you are. So when you're by yourself, then you've got to face self. And you don't want to do that. So, you know, that's why I said, if you have to go through that season where you're crying nonstop for a month, like, it's better. That's what I had to realize. It's better to be in my yard crying on my pillow than being out with some obnoxious guy. Do you know what I mean? At a dinner at some expensive restaurant. Like, I had to realize, you know what? My mental health chair, myself, my dignity, my self-dignity. Like, I had to remember who I was outside in these streets to pick myself up from the gutter and say no. But do you know what? I thought I was in the gutter, but yeah, I'm an 80s baby. So for certain gal, this is what I'm saying. Like, where do you end up, chair? I'm gonna have to say maybe Atlantis. That's underwater, innit? Because certain gal them are there. You get me? After hearing that little Fab's video about Fly Saint, I'm just like, wow, the younger generation are wild, yeah. That's why when you're outside, the young man them are lapping it up. I didn't even understand why they're lapping it up so much. Yeah. That's why I said to myself, let me just, if it's meant to be, let me just wait for my king, because my thing is fresh and pretty. You get me? And good and clean and tight and everything. So I'm not even doing that up. I'm just relaxing, chair. All right. Then we've got conditioned loyalty. Cults train us to stay even when mistreated. That is a big thing that they do, that pull and push thing. And what they do is they ABUSE you, they say it's heavy shepherding, they say it's rebuke, but then they're doing up mad reverse psychology to make it be like, we're testing you. When we rebuke you, we're testing you to see how loyal you are, to see if you'll remain loyal so that you can get that position. It's guys, your brain is it's psychological, BATTERY. It's psychological rechargeable batteries. That's what it is. On period, point blank. I'm not even joking. It's mad in there. Guys, how I've made it out like this, like as I keep saying, I haven't come out unscathed. I'm still healing. This is still a journey. And as I'm working through this, you know, I'd love to eventually, you know, when I've like worked through this, like more the trauma and stuff, sit down and, you know, really have that reflective piece. And oh, it's just getting, guys, it's getting so deep, chair. I don't even know what's going on. I feel like there's this process that's happening in me at the moment where I'm really getting forced to just really search and just go really deep within, like really address a lot. And I was even thinking today, and I was like, as much as this summer the weather's been up and down, this, that, and the third, even though it's just been like my world has been falling apart and so much stuff's been happening, at the same time, it's just been such a healing summer. I've really spent this summer with self and, you know, forming beautiful new connections. And, you know, the collective movement has grown so much, like more people are speaking out. Yeah. All right. So my point is, guys, it's better to keep your backside in your yard, yeah? Have your little takeaway. Even listen to me, Jer. It's better to have less and have your blood clot peace, yeah? I'd rather be eating beans on toast in my yard so that nobody can't have my name in their mouth. Do you understand what I'm saying? Protect your peace, protect your energy. That's what I say. Don't be heads up to be wanting to be up underneath people. Learn to love your space and learn to love yourself. That's what I would say. And also to just be a bit kinder and content, like have a bit of contentment, because, you know, we can't always, you know, keep up with things all the time, because it might be, you know, you might be neurodivergent, you might be suffering with depression, whatever it is. Just we just need to be a bit kinder on ourselves as well, yeah. So loyalty was a huge thing that my cult leader did. It's like military propaganda. That's what it is. very military style training through the loyalty. You know, it's like obedience to the higher authority, can't answer back. If you do all criticism, questioning, challenging authority or doctrine is all seen as disloyal. The DEVIL, Orangu. How much is left? All right, I'm going to finish this up, guys, because I really do want to finish this up. It would be so great. So do you see how the conditioning for us to stay, even when we're getting mistreated, that's why you'll find it would spill into other areas of your life. So you might realize post-cult exit that your husband's ABUSE, for example, or that your work environment has just been treating you like a doormat. You haven't had a promotion for 10 years. You do all the work. You're the hardest working person there, but you never get any promotion. You come to a lot of realizations because it's like, wow. You know, like, they don't respect me here. So, like, what's the point? Let me try and look for somewhere else. Why am I staying in a toxic environment? Because that's what I'm used to. It could be dependency. It could be feeling needed. It could be feeling wanted. And so you're staying in, you know, toxic, unhealthy environments. That's what I did for a long time. And also another thing is, it can take you, for me, it took me like coming out of the cult to realize that my work environment was so toxic, contributing to my physical and mental health, because my workplace ran exactly like a cult. So I couldn't identify that my workplace was as toxic and unhealthy as it was. It took that awakening from the cult to realize, oh my God, like, this is why I was so comfortable there. And this is why they wanted me there as well, because it was the same toxic patterns. It was like 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, no, it was like I was like a machine, like just doing what I could do with my eyes closed. I wasn't challenging myself. I went, you know, there was a lot of realizations, a lot of deep realizations that I had to come to. So it's that conditioning of loyalty that carries into relationships. Because I don't just want to make it about a man, because I just feel like we're not really like doing up the centering of man, and I don't have a man, so I'm really drawing from more my trauma, through the lens of trauma, through my own personal experiences, through shared collective trauma with other survivors, which I think is good, because if I'm feeling this way and I know of, you know, 5 or 10 other survivors, that it's not obviously going to be the same, but we will have the same collective trauma because we've experienced that in some way in a similar setting. Does that make sense? So that's the power of the collective, because we've all experienced that, whether that, you know, like, I can't remember who it was that highlighted to me that I had that conditioning from the streets of loyalty. So again, if you come from that type of world, okay, thanks, my love. If you come from that type of world, because I was thinking, am I talking human? You know what? Then you would have come with that. And then it's like, because I felt like I was doing too much, because it's like I came from that world where I was always trying to like prove myself. It was all mad. Like, this is just a toxic mixture. That's what it was. And I just got caught up. So if you're seeing, if you've experienced that, then you know, you might, you know, not see certain red flags because you want to be loyal. You might be in a toxic marriage or relationship that, you know, and you don't want to see certain things. Yeah, it could be so many different things, Chair. Yeah. So you can get yourself into like, you know, like guys like ABUSE, like narcissists, like guys who are like Preds, DV, etc. You can be GROOM'd to do things, you know. It's endless, Share, because that's all they're doing. They're spiritually PIMPing us off. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all they're doing in the spirit. Like, that's why you see them on the road curb, like Monday to Sunday. Yeah. Normalization of ABUSE. So you can just, you know, so it feels like home, it feels familiar. So if yelling, shaming, or control felt normal in these environments, we don't always see the red flags in romance. Okay. So it's like, again, it feels like a safe space. And then also, if you've had that unsecure attachment, etc., you'll want that chaos, or it might be that you're used to always having to fix things. So it's like, you know, so that's why these environments do attract like fixers, you know, people with God complexes, narcissists, dark empaths, but that's a very toxic mix all in one space. And then people are masking and pretending to be actors. And then on top of that, we've got a misogynistic patriarchal environment in which people can act. And once they figure out the system, it's like the benefit system. Once if you're finessing it, do you know what I mean? There's people out there that do that. Do you get it? And it's like once you understand you've got the system, that's it. You're on it. It's the same with these CCs, because the systems are all the same. They're like McDonald's, like franchises. The same thing everywhere and anywhere you go. All right. Then we've got neurochemistry. Our brains were trained to crave the roller coaster. Calm, healthy love can feel boring at first. So that's just self-explanatory, innit? And again, because it's so dysfunctional, we become desensitized to, you know, there's that scripture that says that they breathe out violence. Like, we become desensitized to that behavior. We become desensitized to them using and weaponizing, you know, like the word. Do you know what I mean? And getting away with ABUSE because they're quoting script. You know, I could go on and on and on. All right. So I'm just going to quickly go through signs you're in a trauma bond, then healing and breaking trauma bonds. And this will be on YouTube. So you can go and rewatch it, get the full recording if you feel like it's helpful. Or, you know, a survivor this might be useful for a survivor, you know, etc. All right. So signs you're in a trauma bond, relationship edition. Guys, how long have I been on here for, Chair? I don't know if it's going to download. Anyway, let's get it. Let's just do it anyway. So signs you're in a trauma bond. So this is a relationship edition. And then, because really and truly, we do become obsessed with these people. We do form these really weird relationships that it's like idolization. So I do think we need to understand it in a romantic way, or a relationship dynamic way, sorry, whether that's, you know, same gender, opposite, whatever. Because I also had a very dysfunctional relationship with my pastor's wife as well. It was so bad. And she's a narcissist, so it was like having a narcissistic mother, and that can be very scarring. All right, so you defend someone who's hurt you. So this is signs you're in a trauma bond. You feel addicted to the good moments, even though the bad ones are destroying you. You can't imagine life without them. That's really key, that you can't imagine life without them, because that's why a lot of people start to get those thoughts. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's like, I can't survive outside this group. I can't imagine my life without them. And that's how I felt. He felt like, you know, my Jesus. Even though you know you're not okay with them, you're more scared of losing them than you are of their ABUSE. And it's also craving that position, that sense of validation, self-worth, identity as being, you know, the pastor's secretary, or, you know, armor bearer, or, you know what I mean? It's like, it's that type of thing. And it's really sad. All right. So healing and breaking trauma bonds. Healing is possible. Let's look at what to do with healing, because I kind of covered what trauma bonds looks like, you know, how they do it up in the core, how it rewires the brain. We've looked at a little bit of autoimmune stuff. We've looked at signs. If you're in a trauma bond, what I just went through, what to look out for within the relationship dynamic. Now we're going to look at healing being possible, and that starts with awareness. So it's a bit like AA, you know, you need to be honest with yourself. You need to be able to look in the mirror, and you need to be able to say to yourself that this is a trauma bond. My body is craving this person, but it's not love, or craving this community, or craving this environment, or craving, you know, there's almost got to be that internal monologue and rhetoric of telling yourself as well, because you need to put up those boundaries and tell yourself that this is not healthy. This is not healthy. And not idolizing or romanticizing or seeing the potential in something or someone, and also not craving the need to be loved by someone, because it's not love, you know. If it's that craving, if it's that addiction, it's, you know, and again, I do want to kind of look at the real fruits about gentleness and patience and kindness, because I do really feel like that's what love is. I really do. I really do, you know, I really do. And for them to change it, you know, it's just a real travesty. Because it's so simple. It's like, why are you making something that's so simple? There's a simplicity in, you know, the words of Christ, and you're just making it so difficult, Chair. Like, why are you making like the words, like, just, you're making it something else? All right, then no contact or low contact. So again, you know, we're dealing with narcissists, this trauma bond. So you need to create distance to heal, to break the cycle. And so your brain can rewire, because your brain has been used to being codependent on this person. It's like as I said, like, you know, it's like a narcotic. So you're craving it. Difficult. It's hard, man. Reparent yourself. Learn to give yourself the care, love, and validation you were taught to get only from others. So pour that into yourself. Treat yourself like the big kid. Love on yourself. Mother, father yourself the way you would want to be. Because if you believe in ideologies around you having both, you know, masculine and feminine elements within, then you can draw from both, you know, elements. We don't need anything external of self to survive. You know, that's what I believe Christ meant by man cannot live off bread and bread alone. That's what I believe Christ meant. Okay, so safe community. Surround yourself with people who affirm you without controlling you. That is so important. So important. A safe community, and that's why we have this collective, and we've created it, because a safe community to heal, to deconstruct is so important, Chair. They think we're here like bringing down their morgues, and they just don't get it. They just don't get it. They just don't get it. So sad. Neuroscience of healing. The brain is plastic. It can rewire. It's malleable. And you know, Dag Heward-Mills being a doctor as well, he knows a lot about the brain. They know what they're doing. That's why when they say, oh, do they know? Do they know? Do you know how intricate this stuff is? Do you think they wake up one day and say, oh, this has been well thought out? This is like organized on that level. It's not like street shotting level. It's organized, you know what, like cartel. That's what it's giving. Okay, so every time you choose a safe boundary, every time you soothe yourself instead of running back, you're literally teaching your brain a new pattern. So it's all about, you know, creating these new patterns, new habits. That's why it's about, you know, going out into nature, like going into walks, like forcing yourself to do the opposite, pushing yourself out of, you know, your comfort zone so that you can rewire the brain. And it's really, really difficult, guys. And I can't possibly understand what you're going through because I'm not in your body. I don't know what you're going through, but I can most definitely empathize with what you're going through, you know, sharing in this shadow collective trauma. And I think that healing, it's not linear. So try not to compare, you know, to anybody. Just stay in your lane. Make it be like tunnel vision. I would say, like, just focus on your personal relationship with God, because, you know, guys, whenever it gets quiet like this, it's like the still before the storm. So there's a little closing thing that the AI gave me. I'm so tired, but I'm so proud that I've done the whole thing. Okay, so it says, we're not broken because we fell into trauma bonds. We were conditioned, trained, and wired that way by systems of ABUSE. But we can heal, we can rewire our brains, reclaim our power, and choose love that is safe, kind, and free. And then it's given a little mantra here, if this is your thing. And it says, I am worthy of love without pain. I release the cycle of trauma bonds and I step into healthy, safe, nourishing love. I really like that. I think this is a really nice way to end the live. So I'm going to leave y'all with this mantra. It's really nice, this, isn't it? So do I, Jail. ChatGPT, Jail. It's like it keeps a history of your chat and stuff, so it really does tailor me. I love it. I love ChatGPT. You know, I'm not a plagiarist. I am worthy of love without pain. I'm going to do it and give it a pause so you guys can say it after. Okay, so the first line. I am worthy of love without pain. I release the cycle of trauma bonds. And I step into healthy, safe, nourishing love. And I think I'll end the live there, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a late one, a twilight session. It's been absolutely beautiful. I'm going to download this so I can get it on YouTube. I've shared a lot. This really has, been my heart. And thank you for being a part of the live and sharing. And wow, I know that's been mainly Licia though, and Haynes liking up the live. Look at these queens chair. I see people with hundreds of people, they don't even get that many likes. So big yourself up, man. You lot have protected the space, because when there's less of us like this on here, that's when they get me, man. So love you guys. I'm gonna go. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.